Welcome. In this video, we will discuss about that not all Indian droughts are caused by El Nino. So this is also common sense also, but there has been throughout, if in your NCERT geography book, you would have read that El Nino and droughts in India have a very strong correlation. But even then, there are droughts in India which has no relationship with El Nino. So just remember that fact that we are talking about not all. That does not mean that there is no relationship between droughts and El Nino. The idea is more along the line there are other causes also which could cause drought in the Indian scenario. So this is the outline for this video. We will discuss about it. We will also discuss little bit about El Nino. So let's start. So as per the latest finding, nearly 6 out of 10 droughts is non-El Nino years. So basically in non-El Nino years means that when the El Nino phenomena was not prominent, even then like 6 out of 10 times the drought was experienced in India in the past century. So this data has actually come up for the past century. So you have to also be wary of the time scale which has been utilized. In 2014, India saw 14% rainfall deficit or a drought that wasn't linked to El Nino, and before that in the 1986 and 1985. So these are the years which were marked as that even though they are non-El Nino years, they have still been like India has experienced drought in those years. So this is the basic context. Please remember that in no way means that the El Nino and droughts are not connected. El Nino phenomena has a huge impact on the monsoon in India, and in your geography NCERT you would have read about it. Apart from that, I have also done a video on La Nina. In that I have discussed about some of the features of El Nino as well. Now let's move forward and try to understand what are the other factors then which are actually influencing the droughts when there is El Nino is not happening. So these droughts are the consequence of a sudden and steep drop in rainfall in late August. So basically when the rainfall drops in the late August, that is being considered as one of the major cause for the drought. Wind in the upper atmosphere are interacting with the deep cyclonic circulation above the abnormally cold North Atlantic waters. So we know that the North Atlantic waters are very cold. So they are very close to the Arctic part and they are like abnormally cold. The resulting wave of air current called a Rossby wave. So this is something again for the geography optional people, they would definitely will read about it, but for the general people, for the JS examination, you don't really have to go really deep into understanding the characteristic of Rossby wave. Just understand this is how the upper wave circulation happen, and this particular wave is called as Rossby. Curved down the North Atlantic is squeezed in by the Tibetan Plateau and hit the subcontinent around mid-August, suppressing the rainfall and throwing off the monsoon that was trying to recover from the June slump. So this is actually one of the major reasons why we experience drought is because of the interaction in the upper air circulation, which is the wind coming from the North Atlantic water. So this is something you need to know, that the wind coming from the North Atlantic water is the one which is actually causing the lack of rainfall or deficit in rainfall in the late August. So these are the few things. Again, what you have to remember from over here is the name Rossby wave. You don't really have to dig in deep over here. Not necessary. The people who have taken geography as their optional, they will anyway be reading about it. So this is something you should know. Now let's just quickly understand what is El Nino. So El Nino is a climatic cycle characterized by higher air pressure in the western Pacific and low air pressure in the eastern. So this is what happened. Just remember that during the El Nino time, the surface water of sea become warmer. And which surface water we are talking about, in which region? So it is actually your eastern Pacific. Eastern Pacific Ocean become warmer than normal, and that is what is called as the phenomena of El Nino. During this event, there is a warming of sea surface temperature in the eastern and central equatorial Pacific Ocean. So apart from central, parts from eastern central equatorial Pacific Ocean also get heated up. It is one phase of the alternate cycle as El Nino Southern Oscillation. So in your NCERT geography, you would read that the ENSO is the El Nino Southern Oscillation, which means how the temperature variation happens between the north and between east and west oscillation of the southern ocean. So basically in that regard, how the Pacific water temperature keep on changing is the ENSO. The opposite or the contrary when the surface gets colder is called as La Nina, and 2020 is the La Nina year. So just normal understanding that El Nino, when El Nino is there, monsoon in India is deficit. Monsoon in India will be deficit. But on the other hand, if it is a La Nina year, it will have good impact on the Indian monsoon. This is something you just need to know. Very basic understanding. You would be requiring to know more about the how the upper air circulation work, how the moisture laden air has been carrying across the equator and through the different ocean. All these are part of your conventional understanding of geography. So I would really suggest go back to your 11th class NCERT book and you will be able to understand better about the overall weather phenomena by looking at the wind patterns and air circulation. So what are the causes of El Nino? So El Nino is set in when there is an anomaly in pattern. So just remember, El Nino happens because the surface water becomes warmer, which is not supposed to. In fact, there is a particular current associated with it, which is known as the Peru current. So it is a cold current along the coast of Peru, which is in South America. So it is a cold current, but during the El Nino year, it becomes warmer. And that is what actually triggered the whole thing. So you can understand it as an anomaly. The westward blowing trade winds weaken along the equator, and due to changes in air pressure, the surface water moves eastwards to the coast of Northern America. So this is what actually happened. So this is your India. This is your Australia. Here you can understand as a South America. Okay, so this current over here, when the air become warm, or over here also it will become warm. So the trade wind which were coming towards India and would deflect towards India and cause the monsoon because of the low pressure zone over here. The low pressure is also found over here because of the warming caused by the El Nino, and that is why these trade wind, instead of deflecting towards the Indian subcontinent, move towards Australia and cause rainfall over there. So that is what actually happened during the El Nino year, and that is why India received deficit rainfall. Very basic understanding of that is required. You really don't have to dig in deep over here. The central and eastern Pacific region warms up to over 6 months and result in the El Nino condition. So this is something also very important to know, that the El Nino and La Nina, these are not like a day or two phenomena. They exist for like around months and even years at time. So these are the very basic thing you should know. Now grammatically, just look how the El Nino actually reshapes the weather. So basically this is how the upper air circulation is going on, and the Pacific jet is strengthened because of the El Nino effect. And this caused the warm water than normal because of the El Nino condition. The water will be warmer. And this is how you will see, this is what happened in the upper atmosphere. This is the Rossby character wave that we were discussing about. This is something which actually changed the pattern of the wind. So again, from the general perspective, or the people who are writing the GS examination only for geography, the general understanding of El Nino is what is required. So I hope you have understood this video. If you have any doubt, feel free to drop a comment. Thank you.